Hello everyone, we'd like to welcome you to our Learning Views webinar, The Many Paths of a Career in Instructional Design. My name is Dave Edelman and I'll be doing our introduction and telling you a little bit about TrainingPros, about our partnership with Harrisburg University, and buying a few minutes while the rest of the folks kind of join us and log in. If you're not familiar with TrainingPros, we are a specialized staffing company and we focus on the learning and development arena. We have kind of three things that set us apart from other staffing organizations. First of all, folks in my role are relationship managers, and we are folks that have been in the training and development field for a long time. And so when we meet with our clients and talk about their needs, we understand, what they're talking about, and we can help find the right fit for their needs. We have a talent pool of over 9,000 consultants. So we have some excellent folks that can help you with any kind of need that you have, and we'll talk about the different types of roles that we help fill within the next slide. And then we have our proven onboarding for success methodology, which I'm not going to go into right now, but if you have any questions about it or would like to find out more, feel free to contact me. In a couple of slides, you'll see my contact information. And these are just some of the types of roles that we help our clients fill. And typically our clients come to us when they either have just more work than their current team can handle, or if they have a need that is outside of what the talent their team has. So you see things like, of course, e-learning, instructional design, but we also do more advanced things like change management, organizational development, and some things that you don't see on here like LMS coordinators and video production, multimedia. So all kinds of folks. It's amazing the amount of talent that we have in our talent pool. So if you have any needs, feel free to contact us. And just to tell you a little bit about me, I'm a relationship manager with TrainingPros in the Southeast region. Work with clients in Atlanta mostly, have some clients in Florida and some up in the Philadelphia area as well. My background is in training in the hospitality industry, started at Disney, healthcare, pharmaceutical, and insurance industries. And you can see a little bit about my background. I've been in training for a couple of decades now. So I've pretty much done it all, jack of all trades. And right now, in addition to being a relationship manager with TrainingPros, I'm very active in the Greater Atlanta ATD. It used to be ASTD, now it's the Association for Talent Development. And I'll give a little plug. We are gearing up to celebrate Employee Learning Week in December. December 5th through 9th by Governor Proclamation is Employee Learning Week. And if you'd like to find out more, you can contact me, or you can go to atdatlanta.org/ELW2016. And of course, I do, one of the great things about working with TrainingPros is they allow me to do some of my own consulting work through them on, in addition to being a relationship manager. So I do a few projects here and there to kind of keep my saw sharp. I think that's enough about me, and I'll go ahead and turn it over to our presenter. I hope you enjoy the webinar. Welcome, Marion.
All right, Maria, you'll need to unmute and we're ready to go.
All right. Hello, everybody. Can you hear me okay? All right. Well, welcome. Welcome to this webinar. Today I'm going to be talking to you about the many paths to instructional design. My name is Maria Jones, and with Avis Consulting, LLC. And I actually do get contracts through TrainingPros. It's been an awesome partnership since I started partnering with them a few years back. One of the questions that I get regularly when I tell people I'm an instructional designer, I get questions of how I made the leap from my background in mechanical engineering to instructional design. But I think you'll find as we go through this presentation that it's not as big of a leap as you would expect. So Justin, if you wouldn't mind putting up the first poll, before we really get started into the content, I want to learn about you guys. tell me about your background. I want to see how many people are maybe already in instructional design or in a training role, and how many people might just be curious about a career in instructional design. So it looks like we have a pretty good mix, a lot of instructional designers, some trainers, some that are just interested. I see Marion in ID and facilitation, media specialists, some project managers. Okay, technical writers also. Well, great. Well, it looks like we have a good mix of different groups. We have some trainers, a lot of instructional designers, and then people that are just curious. All right. So let's start from the beginning. What is instructional design? I know some of you who are actually in instructional design probably already know this, but it is a systematic process by which instructional materials are designed, developed, and delivered. So those instructional materials can come in many different forms. They can be instructor-led training, e-learning, hands-on training, job aids, computer-based training, you name it. Especially now with the technology that we have, those different training materials have continued to develop and evolve. But a lot of times when people think of instructional design, they really only think of the end product. They don't realize that instructional design isn't just throwing materials together into a course and a guide and adding some graphics. It really is a process that you go through to develop those end materials. So let's look at the history of instructional design. It actually started back during World War II when a group of psychologists and educators were asked to help the military develop some training materials and evaluations. And it was really successful. They were able to train a lot of people, and what it did is it made psychologists and educators start to look at training as a system. And in turn, they developed different analysis, design, and evaluation procedures. So there's many different design processes that are out there that are used by instructional designers. And one of the most common ones that a lot of you have probably heard of is ADDIE, which is shown on the screen. And really, no matter the process, those core items are usually a part of any process that you go through. So usually starts with some sort of analysis. And as I go through this example, I'll use e-learning as an example, because I do develop a lot of e-learning for clients. So for the analysis phase, it's when we're sitting down and talking to the clients and trying to get more information of what they actually want to get out of the training. We're in the information gathering phase and really trying to hone in on what the end product is going to be and what results they want to get out of putting together this training. From there, we move on to the design. So in the analysis phase, usually what comes with the analysis phase is putting together requirements and specifications for our example, for e-learning. It's basically the structure to say, okay, for this e-learning course, we're going to split it up into 4 different modules, and we're going to, for these different modules, these are the topics that we're going to teach, and these are the objectives that we're going to, the objectives for each of these different modules. Then when you move into the design phase, it's more of the storyboarding phase. So how are we actually going to teach all of these different topics? So, oh, it looks like somebody lost audio. Can everybody still hear me okay? Okay, all right, good, just making sure. So yes, so the design phase, at least for the e-learning process, is your storyboarding phase, where you're figuring out how you're going to present the information, how you can engage the learner, different graphics that you can use, different training strategies that you can use. So from there, you move into development and production. So for e-learning, for our example, that's when you take all those storyboards that have been approved by the client and you actually program the course and record audio. and put it all together into a final package for your client to review. Once they go through and they approve, then you go to implementation. So for e-learning, you're going to upload the course either to their learning management system or on their website or wherever they are going to host the content for their end users to be able to take the training. And all throughout this process, you're going to be evaluating and doing quality assurance and doing more fine-tuning. And there's usually, I typically like to have a review process at every stage so that with every stage we're getting sign-off from the client of, yes, this is the direction that we want to go. So this process, the systematic process, is what drew my engineering mind to instructional design. It's what fascinated me about it, I thought, and it felt very familiar. I felt very at home having a process to go through to develop different materials. So tell me about you guys. Since we do have a lot of instructional designers, I've met amazing instructional designers that have started as educators, as writers, as project managers, engineers, you name it, really from all different backgrounds and maybe not necessarily an education background. So what about you guys? How did you get started in instructional design, or what piqued your interest about instructional design? Justin, if you wouldn't mind bringing up that poll. And if you can just type a short answer, I would love to hear your stories of what your career path was. Okay, so former educator, initially a trainer, and then moved into instructional design. Oh, finance manager, looking for a career change career paths. Oh, this is true. I've been told that the opportunities are in instructional design, not off-the-shelf training. I can definitely attest to that. There's a lot of work out there. Let me see. I was a technical writer working with instructional designers. Then asked to step into an instructional designer role. Developing graphics and media for courseware. That's a great way to get started too. Okay, so it nicely combines counseling, psychology, and education. That is very true. And then somebody else wrote 15 years college teaching and 15 years training. Oh, okay. Hey, here's a good one. Obtained the writing degree and then found an internship with a company that was for instructional design. It piqued my interest, and I liked getting to use my writing skills in business. Oh, here we go. Technical writer. Did some work in Disney training, doing freelance. Oh, I lost it. Doing freelance tech writing now, back in instructional design, looking to pursue master certification in instructional design and simulation. This is great. Software trainers, we have a little bit of everything. Technical writers, kindergarten teacher, bookstore manager, technical writer, and then to corporate training. Somebody else says they're working on building custom content for schools through the publisher that they work for. And you manage instructional designers. This is great. And I think it's a really great way to see that really there's not really one set path. Instructional designers come from all over the place. And the truth is that there is a big need. No matter what company you have or what type of industry you're in, you always have to train your people. So thank you everybody for sharing your different paths with me. So now it's my turn. So how did I go from engineering to instructional design? So I'll give you a little bit of history of how I even got into engineering. From a young age, I was always tinkering with stuff and taking apart random things around the house, like phones and remotes. I kind of used to get in trouble for that. But I really was always curious about how things worked. I wanted to see inside and understand how things were working in the background. So I've always been fascinated with machines. And I did a project in school about water turbines, and I was totally hooked. I was fascinated. And I talked to my mom about it, and she said, well, if that's the kind of stuff that you like, maybe you should think about going into mechanical engineering when you grow up. That's what your grandfather does. So I thought, well, sure, why not? That's what I'm going to do. So I studied mechanical engineering at Georgia Tech. Go Yellow Jackets. And I got a corporate job right out of college in automotive engineering for a large transportation company here in Atlanta. And I was so gung-ho. I was ready to jump into designing new automotive parts and using all the skills that I learned in school. But that's not exactly what happened. So when I first started, I was new to the company, new to the department. I didn't really know a lot about the actual function. So my managers wanted to put me on a project where I could really get that knowledge. So what they did, they gave me an assignment to put together a mechanics basic skills training guide that was going to be used to onboard mechanics. And I thought, well, this isn't really what I was expecting. I thought I was going to, be doing some engineering, but I know how to use Microsoft Word, so why not? I'll try it. And the truth is, it was a great project to work on. I had to interview field managers and trainers to get their feedback about what they thought a mechanic should know walking in the door and what a mechanic would need to learn in the first 30 days. So that meant I got to know people in my department from all over the country. It got me out in the field, observing processes and procedures. It gave me the opportunity to get a mechanic's perspective of maintaining a vehicle and what their day-to-day life is like. And that really gave me the perspective that I needed when I was finally put on an engineering project to oversee a build of new vehicles. It was a great way to really get that foundation. But I guess they liked the mechanics basic skills training guide that I put together because I continued to get some additional training development projects thrown my way. And I said yes to all of them, especially when you're first starting out in your career. Sometimes you do stuff that maybe doesn't really fit into your job description, but would be a great way for you to learn a new subject or to learn a new process or just to meet people and to network. So first, I was asked to help out with recording some voiceover in Spanish for a computer-based training program. And from there, I was asked to help with an English voiceover. And then I kind of moved into starting to design and develop e-learning modules using Articulate Presenter. And then I learned about our learning management system and how to actually upload and how to make sure that my e-learning modules were working correctly in the learning management system, and really started working on creating paper-based materials, those e-learning courses. I got asked to put together a training video, which I had never done before, but I said, you know what, why not? I'll try it. Every time a project came up, I always said yes. So the years passed, and I was ready for a change. And I was doing some career soul searching, and I knew that I liked this whole training development thing that I had been working on, but I'd never heard of the term instructional design. So I was introduced to the term by my mentor, who was a good family friend who happened to be an instructional designer, and she was the one who really helped me launch my career and taught me about the instructional design process. And what I realized in talking to her, that I had actually been using the process without even knowing. I had been working with SMEs and putting together requirements and developing content. And one other thing that I realized was that I was really already familiar with the process because it's really similar to the engineering process that I learned in school. So the way I look at it, that the bridge from mechanical engineering to instructional design is that in both situations, you're starting out with raw materials, whether it be for mechanical engineering, you may have steel and aluminum and nuts and bolts. For instructional design, you have source materials and SME interviews. But in both situations, you put them through a process, whether a manufacturing process or the instructional design process, and in the end, you have a product, whether it be this awesome piece of manufactured equipment or an e-learning course. So I realized, oh, there is that link. There is a connection there that really for instructional design, I'm going through a process similar to the engineering process that I learned while I was in school. So that was my path and my connection to instructional design. So what about those who are interested in becoming an instructional designer? What kind of skills do they need? First and foremost, you have to be a good communicator. a big part of instructional design is working with clients to understand their needs. So it's important to be able to share your ideas both verbally and visually. So you have to be able to talk to people. You have to be able to, you should definitely be a good writer, but you also have to be able to present information in a way that people will understand it. So when I was talking about the ADDIE process, I mentioned storyboarding. Well, in storyboarding, you have to be able to communicate visually what a course is going to do once it's been produced and it's live. So you'll need to be able to show, oh, well, when you click on this button that's on screen, that's not technically right now, not actually a button, this is what's going to happen. So you really have to be a good communicator and also a really good listener. You also need to be creative. When I say creative, I mean in every sense of the word, not only creative in the look and feel of the materials you're delivering, but also in the way that you deliver the content. So clients are always looking for new ways to engage learners. So it's important to keep an open mind and sometimes think out of the box in different ways that you can actually engage the learner when you're teaching different concepts. And sometimes just coming up with a new idea, a new way to present information is what you need to do. So next, you got to be organized. And no, I'm not saying like your desk needs to be organized or clutter-free, but you have to be able to take large chunks of data and put them together in a way that's simple and easy to understand and that makes logical sense to the overall flow of the course. So really being organized, I guess, in your thinking and the way that you put information together. You also need to have some project management skills. So it really depends on the project, but no matter what, as an instructional designer, you're always going to be involved in pretty much every piece of the design process. For some of the projects I've worked on, we had a project manager, and it was great because they put together the schedule, they put together all of the weekly updates. But for most of the projects that I work on as a consultant, I act as both the instructional designer and the project manager. So I'm putting together project plans, timelines, sending project updates to my client. It's definitely a skill that's really important if you are going to look at a career in instructional design as a contractor. You want to be able to keep the project going because some projects can tend to drag on forever, but if you really have that clear plan and can help keep people accountable to it, then that helps with the overall success of your project. But most important, you have to have a love for learning. That's one of my favorite parts about instructional design. For every project I work on, I get to learn a new topic, a new process, a new procedure, or maybe even a new computer program. I love digging in and doing research about the topics that I'm teaching. And that's what's going to make you a really good designer, is diving into the topic and learning it well enough to teach it. So, what do instructional designers do? We do everything. We're a one-stop shop. So this graphic is an awesome infographic that was produced by Arizona State University, and they interviewed a large group of instructional designers and technologists and were asked to tell about the work they do, and that's where this infographic came from. So I don't know if you can kind of read through on the screen. So first, like I mentioned, communicators. We have to be master communicators. We're thinkers. We think through problems, we brainstorm, we experiment, we look for new and better all the time. I think somebody mentioned psychology, and that is true. We think about human psychology, we think about aesthetics, design, user experience, the flow, the look and feel. We think about the different senses and how they come into play. We're also designers. So, and not just designers. A lot of times when I tell people I'm an instructional designer, I think they think more like graphic artists. And it's kind of hard to explain of like, no, I'm actually designing content and figuring out how it's going to be displayed on the screen and when we're going to introduce what topic in what order. It's putting together objectives, activities, assessments, and making sure they all align. Another big part of it is relationships. So one of the ways to be really successful in your projects is having good relationships with SMEs, with your client, Or, a lot of times, let's say you may need some extra help, being able to have a good relationship with somebody who maybe can help you with some extra graphics or an animation that would really elevate the project to a new level. We're data analysts. So all of this training that we're putting together, usually people have an end goal. They want to move a number. They want to see results. Maybe they want to, they're training a new software program, and they're trying to teach a new procedure, and they're trying to increase productivity. So we have to look at that as well and see, okay, is the training that we've put together actually moving these numbers? Is it doing what we hoped it would do? Superheroes, that's one of my favorites, and I feel like it's so true. So one of the things that I get requests for all different types of things, and one of the things that I mentioned a few slides back at my first job is I got a request for to produce some video training, and I'd never produced video training, and I said, okay, well, great, do you guys have a video camera? And they said no. I said, okay, well, I have a video camera at home. I guess I can put together something. And I just jumped right in and I did it. And it was a success. People were really excited about it. So we're also guides. This I, especially in the consulting arena, I feel like almost with every client, especially if they've never put together e-learning before, they need to be guided through this whole process, and what their role is going to be, and how much they're going to have to be involved and how much they're not going to have to be involved. So really just kind of guiding your client through the entire process, and helping them see the vision. We're builders. We put together the, at least for e-learning, you're actually building the actual content. We're explorers. We're project managers, like I talked about before. We're fixers. So if something happens and your course isn't working, you have to figure out why. So, we're definitely always looking to evaluate and make sure that what we put together is effective. So this, the source file for this infographic, actually, I think if you just Google Instructional Designers infographic, you'll find it just through a Google search. So now that we've talked about what the skills needed and what instructional designers do, let's talk about where we can apply these skills. Okay, I want to do another quick poll. I want to see what types of industries we have represented on the call. Justin, if you don't mind bringing up that last poll so we can see what industries we have out there. And if you don't see the industry that you're in, you can click on other, or if you want to type it into the chat, you can read through those as well. Pharmaceutical, okay. We have a lot of other. Oh, neat. Aerospace and defense, power utility, manufacturing, association, government, military. This is awesome. Management consulting, manufacturing, pharmaceuticals, and sales. And then on our survey, we also have some financial, some healthcare, some human resources, IT, higher ed, multiple nonprofit. So you can see we have representation from many different industries. Let me see what else comes in. So no retail, no transportation. I'll represent both because I have done training for both retail and transportation. I see higher ed, technical college, primary, secondary. That's great. And nonprofit. All right, Justin, you can take that down. Thanks. So you can see really instructional design spans all industries, no matter what people need training, and that really applies to any workspace, any education, any school. And so in my career, I've worked on all different types of projects in a lot of different industries, but because of my background, when I first got started, I really started more on the technical training side because it's what I was more familiar with. And since I was still learning the overall instructional design process, I really wanted to focus on topics that I was pretty familiar with, so I could get a feel for the instructional design process and master that before moving on. And now that I'm more comfortable with that process, I've been able to branch out to different topics and different industries. So if you're looking to get into a career in instructional design, first thing you want to do is brainstorm. What type of career do you want? Is there a niche or industry you want to specialize in? Is there a specific skill that you feel needs to be taught where you're currently working? Maybe you're planning on specializing in the education sector or the corporate sector. Maybe you're already an expert in a particular field and you just want to share your knowledge with others. So first, figuring out your goal is going to help you narrow down what content you can offer and what learning materials you use. So I talked a lot about e-learning, but that's, like I said at the beginning, that's not the only types of training materials you can use. There's job aids, there's instructor-led training, hands-on training, which is a little bit of everything. Oh, thanks, Justin, for putting that link out there for the infographic. So once you figure out what you want to teach, what you want to design, what topics you're interested, the next thing you need to do is start gaining some experience and going through the design process and building materials. So let's say you're working at a company. Is there a course that you've taken recently that you think, oh, that really needs to be updated? You could always volunteer to help update it, just to give you a chance to practice your skills and to gain that experience. Or, you could also come up with your own topic that you're interested in and build a course around that. Let's say you're interested in cooking or exercising or, whatever your hobby is. You can use the instructional design process to, let's say, teach how to cook your favorite dish. And what you're doing is really honing in on those skills of how to put together training that is going to be sound and put together in a logical order, and figure out ways of making the training interesting. But most important is just practice. With any process, the more you practice, the better you get at it.
Just bear with us for 1 minute, folks. We're going to have Maria log out and log back in, and ran into a little issue, a little snag earlier, so I'm not completely surprised, but just bear with us for 1 moment. We'll be right back.
Hey everybody, sorry about that. Can you hear me okay?
Yeah, you're good.
Okay. Okay, thanks. Sorry, technical issues. All right. Oh, thanks, Catherine. All right, so I think what I was saying is once you have a chance to practice the putting together content, you really got to take the time to learn about the theories and the models behind instructional design. And understanding the theories and the overall design process is going to help you create that engaging, relevant content for your learners. You should get familiar with different e-learning authoring tools if e-learning is what you're interested in. Articulate Storyline and Adobe Captivate both offer a 1-month free trial for you to test out the software and play around with it and see if it's something that you like, that you're interested in. It's also a good idea to get familiar with learning management systems and how they work. Not necessarily that you have to download a free trial, but just understanding the concept behind them and how they work. So one way you can learn about all these core concepts and design tools is by enrolling in a certificate program or some sort of program. And actually Harrisburg University, who is helping us host this webinar, actually offers an instructional design certificate that covers not only these foundational skills, but also teaches you about how to actually build the content and helps you build a portfolio that you can use to show samples of work. So check it out, Harrisburg University Instructional Design Certificate. And actually that leads me into a portfolio. That's one of the other things that you need to get started. If you want to land a job as an instructional designer, you have to have some samples of work to present to your potential employer. Even if it's a project you've just worked on to gain experience, like I mentioned, if you put together something about how to create your favorite meal, employers really just want to see what you can do with a topic. They want to see how you gather information, how you present information, and how maybe your different design of the course. So what I typically do, I usually have a binder with samples of work of my instructor-led training that I've developed, and usually I'll do some printouts of e-learning, different e-learning courses that I developed. But for e-learning, it's always helpful if you have an online portfolio with some samples of your work so that potential employers or clients can see how your course functions in real time. They can hear the audio, they can really play around with it and get to see what type of design you do. If you do put together an online portfolio, if any of the content, of course, is the client's content, you definitely want to get written consent that it's okay to post that information as part of your portfolio. Oh, awesome. Thank you, Richard, for posting that link. So the secret to getting ahead is just getting started, trying it out. There are a ton of resources out there when it comes to instructional design. Even Articulate Storyline, they have their website
eLearning Heroes that has great resources. There's so many websites. If you just Google instructional design, there's a ton of stuff out there. All right. Oh, Marianne, I see your question. What platform do you use to build an online portfolio? I actually just used Articulate Storyline, and what I did is basically created an e-learning course of several different of my e-learning courses. And I don't usually put, the entire 15-minute course. I maybe would put maybe 5 minutes of something of one of the modules that has an interesting aspect to it. So maybe I want to show my technical training and show how I teach a technical topic, like how a battery works. And then I might have another one that would be more, systems training. So I can show some software simulation that I've created. And then another one that's more soft skills. So you do want to show a range of skills and how you can present different topics and different different areas of interest. So, and I know David mentioned ATD, always a great resource as well. For me, I think networking has been the best part of my career, and it's really opened the door for me to have a lot of different opportunities, because once you start talking to people and they realize, oh, okay, well, you have a background in mechanical engineering and you're an instructional designer. If they hear about a job that happens to be actually one of the first contracts that I worked with TrainingPros on was automotive paint e-learning course, and somebody just happened to remember, oh yeah, Maria has a design in mechanical engineering and she knows about automotive. Oh, let's call and see if she can work on that. So to me, networking has been the the best thing for me, at least as far as advancing my career and really launching my company. So look for latest trends. That's the other thing is, especially if you're involved with ATD, it's always a good way to really stay ahead of what's new, what's upcoming, stay up to date with the latest trends. There is so much technology out there, and there's so many neat things that people are doing with training. I know I mentioned already the Articulate Storyline website, eLearning Heroes, but they actually have some really neat resources of some sample courses. So if you're new to instructional design and it's been a while since you've taken an e-learning course, or maybe you've never taken an e-learning course, I would suggest going on their website and checking out some of their samples. There's some really, really neat stuff, really creative stuff out there. And I know we're actually kind of short on time, but that's the end of my presentation. And this is one of my favorite quotes is this: instructional designer, because freaking miracle worker isn't an official job title. Because some days, as an instructional designer, that's how you feel. You feel like a miracle worker, and you have no idea how things are going to come together, but in the end, you pull it off and you get it done. So, does anybody have any questions for me? Suggestions even? Because I know I saw that we have a lot of people that are in instructional design. So if there's any advice that you would want to give to somebody who is looking at a career in instructional design, feel free to type it in the comments. Okay, so first question, I'll try to get to all of them. Okay, so is a certificate or degree necessary to succeed in the field? I haven't found that it's necessary. It's definitely helpful to have something, but like I said, my background is mechanical engineering, and I've just learned through experience and taking every opportunity that has been passed on to me. I do think it's awesome to have that background, though, to have a certificate or degree, just to make sure that you're really familiar with the process and the theories. One thing that clients do like is not only to see your experience, but to know that you have that background, to know that you are going to be the thought leader when it comes to training, that you can give them advice as to the best way to evaluate students to make sure they're actually learning what we're trying to teach them. So I will say it doesn't hurt. Not that it's absolutely necessary, but it really doesn't hurt, and it can't do anything but help you launch your career to have a certificate. Let me see. I think there were some other questions. The portfolio, let me see. Are there any assignments that have presented as boring or dry? And how did you push through that? Well, there was some concern about the automotive paint. So what I was teaching for automotive paint was actually teaching people about the painting process, which can be a little dry. But what I tried to do is have a lot of interaction, tried to incorporate animation, knowledge checks, ways to kind of engage the learner. I did a lot of branching. So instead of feeling like you're just going through a PowerPoint presentation, let's say I was talking about substrate preparation, and that's basically preparing a piece of metal to be painted. There's two different types of substrate preparation, mechanical and chemical. So instead of going straight through a linear path, I set up branching. So on one screen, you click on mechanical to learn about mechanical, and you come back to that screen, and then you click on chemical to learn about the chemical preparation. So just different ways to just not have learners feeling like they're just clicking next, next, next. You want them to be engaged and clicking on different areas of the screen. So let me see, what are the main differences between an instructional designer and a learning strategist? You know what? I don't know. If anybody can answer that, definitely type that into the chat, because I'm not sure. As people are typing, because I think people are answering, other tools other than Storyline and Captivate, yes. The Camtasia is another one that I hear people asking for a lot. And Camtasia is good for, let's say you're doing software training, It basically uses screencast, so you can record your screen live as you're going through and showing people where to click on, different parts of the software. So Camtasia is definitely a good one to learn as well. And if I'm missing any, definitely, if anybody else can think of any tools, other authoring tools, feel free to jump in and add that to the chat too. Okay, so lacking an engineering degree, how long is a reasonable amount of time to come up to speed with a tool like Articulate? So Articulate is pretty user-friendly. And the other great thing about it is that they on their eLearning Heroes website, they have a ton of training that's already available to you. And actually, if you download the free trial, they have some videos within that free trial that can teach you how to use Articulate Storyline. I think there are ways to program so that it's not so complicated, but it's a pretty powerful tool where you can add variables and definitely add programming and JavaScript. But just for, let's say a basic, you want to just try something out and do a basic e-learning course, I think it's pretty user-friendly to try it out. I would say maybe a few weeks to a month of trying different training videos. It just really depends on how savvy you are with that as well. Let me see. Okay, so did you do the video training on your own, from videotaping, voiceovers, the whole shebang? Okay, so that was a really interesting project. I had, I don't even know if they're called camcorders anymore, but I had a video camera at home, and one of my coworkers that was really familiar with this, it was a new vehicle familiarization. So I was basically presenting this new vehicle that we were adding to the fleet, and talking about the different maintenance requirements and just any little quirks to do with that vehicle. So it was really just me and a camcorder in the vehicle, almost like Vanna White in front of the vehicle, and talking about just the different quirks, like just strange things. To open the hood, you actually need the key. You had to put the key into the front of the hood, and that's just one of those things that would frustrate a mechanic so much to not know how to open the hood. So I'm sure they would figure out, but at the company I work for, every single process is tracked and timed. So, a mechanic having to spend 10 minutes trying to figure out where the hood is, how to unlatch the hood is not efficient. There was no voiceovers or anything. It was, once I videotaped it, I used the Mac video editing software and added some text boxes, so that just kind of reinforcing, okay, yes, the oil change interval is every 15,000 miles or whatever it was. It's been a while since I did that one. And then once I put together the training video using the Mac video editing software, I imported it into Articulate Storyline and created it as an e-learning course. And I broke the video up into smaller chunks to make it a little bit easier to load onto the learning management system. But it was exciting, something different. You always got to try something new. That's why I say yes to everything, even if it's something that seems a little scary to you. Let me see, are there any other questions? Oh, I see. I come up with good content, but I never write it down. I'm the same way. So I have so many e-learning courses that I've thought, oh, that would be so neat to add to my portfolio. That would be so creative and so innovative. But then I get so caught up working on work projects that I forget to work on my own stuff. So I would definitely encourage you, if you're just starting out, try it. If you have something in your head, even if you don't finish it, at least write it down. I usually storyboard in PowerPoint. So even if you don't want to if it seems a little intimidating to start out using this authoring tool, start in PowerPoint and start planning out your training in PowerPoint and what you're going to teach on each slide. And usually what I do when I'm storyboarding, I'll put a little text box out to the right and put some programming notes in there for myself to say, oh, okay, if the user clicks on this button, then I'm going to go to this screen. Just to help you work through the process. Are there any other questions? Let me read through and see if I see anything else. That's fine. Oh, I hadn't scrolled down all the way. Oh, I agree. Portfolio is very important. Most companies want to see, that's true. They really, pretty much every contract I've been on, they want to see what you've put together so far. Um, and that's a really good point. That is an awesome part about that certificate, is being able to walk out and saying, I have a portfolio. Yes, I can show you my work, some samples of my work. So where can I go for resume advice and presentation? Any headhunting firms that specialize in TL&D? You know, I'm not sure. I know ATD is always a good place to start. Oh yeah, Justin, thanks. Yeah, it's a good ATD is a really good resource. Don't do all the lesson planning parts, so I'm a little scared. Oh, I see, Imogene, that you were an elementary educator, but you didn't want to do all the lesson planning part. So this is a little bit different. With instructional design, I mean, you're really taking, and the way that I look at it is, you're taking this large chunk of data of, okay, we want to teach people about this new software, and you start from a really bird's eye view of, okay, well, of all of this software, what are the most important things that I want to teach? And you start digging in. Okay, so now that I have my training topics, when would they, especially for software training, you want to make it relative to their actual job. So instead of just teaching them, oh, okay, here's how I'm going to process a credit card, maybe teach them what happens before. So you could teach them some soft skills within that same training program. On one course that I worked on for a retailer, we incorporated video so that the employees, the sales associates, would be able to have modeled for them how they should actually interact with a customer. So a customer comes to the register and you talk to them about what they're looking for or what they're purchasing, and maybe you ask them if they are interested in any add-on items, and that's the way that you actually start the scenario that you then in turn start practicing in the system. So let's say a customer comes to the cash wrap and they have an item that they want to return, and so you see a video of a customer coming up and, oh, I bought this, but then it didn't quite work out in my room, so I need to return it, and I really want to exchange it for another color. Well, then you teach them in the system, you're teaching the student in the system, okay, well, this is how you actually do an exchange. And then you go through the system steps. So that way it's more relative to them, and it gives them some context. A lot of times when students have context, that's when it really sticks. And I find trying to incorporate video or any sort of anything that kind of changes it up from just some bullet points on the screen really makes people remember the content, which is really what you want in the end. Any other questions? I see somebody's typing. I'll wait. Are there any other questions or comments? All right, well, it has been great. I really appreciate everybody participating. Thanks so much for your time. If you have any questions, like I said, there's a lot of resources out there for instructional designers. Google is always your friend. And ATD is always a great place to go as well.
Thank you very much, Maria. That was excellent. I think I speak for everyone in saying thank you and that was great. So folks, if you can stick around for a minute, we are going to go over just a couple more slides here just for a second, and then I'm going to go to the feedback survey at the end here, and please do stick around and fill that out because we take the feedback very seriously. And we use it to improve these for you. So once again, we're Harrisburg University. We offer many different degrees. You can check us out. There's a link there. And do check out this this new certificate in instructional design. Richard Cordell is actually on the webinar today. He was participating in the chat, and he's the program lead. So you can reach out to Richard, and you can check the link there to learn more about that great certificate that's very much in line with the topic of this presentation. And the full degree, the Master's in Science and Learning Technologies, is also available. And professional education web shops workshops, webinars, we can support you with any of that. So go ahead and click on that link and save it for a rainy day. I'll put my email in the chat. You can reach out to me also if you need any of these links after the presentation. And thank you from Harrisburg University to TrainingPros. We're very pleased with the partnership. It's really great to be able to bring you these type of webinars. We get a lot out of them, and hopefully all the participants do as well. And David, you can reach out to David and TrainingPros for any of your training needs. So at this point, thank you all for joining. I'm going to click over to the feedback slides. Just give us a little bit of basic feedback about the quality of the webinar today. And thank you very much. And we will see you on the next webinar. Thanks a lot, everybody.